Hello,
You
the
know,
wonderful audience. Those unfortunate few who might stumble across this. Power scaling. Oh
I
boy.
hate it. I'm just gonna interrupt you. I fucking this power scaling versus bullshit. Oh my god, it drives me nuts.
To quote the words of TFS Vegeta, power level is bullshit.
Yes. The problem with this is a huge topic, by the way. Power scaling, and almost all, and I do mean almost all, probably 99.9% of it, is utter horseshit.
Mm.
Where the stats are more made up than the fucking shows that they're trying to discuss. It's actually insane.
There's so many manga that fall apart because of power scaling. Because
Here's
they're
the
like,
real here's the
my
real
guy
question I want to
sucks.
know.
He's actually really good. You just had no idea.
Here's the real question I want to know. Why does Tetra's skin color become lighter when she becomes regular Zelda?
Because she's pure.
That's dark.
Honestly, that I couldn't tell you the reason. I've seen people do make art of her with the dark skin as Zelda, and it looks nice.
I
Doesn't
don't. Yeah, I think it's just to make her look more like Link.
I think it's just to
Probably.
make her look more like Zelda.
Probably.
That's how Zelda's normally portrayed. Because it is the toon art style. The slower kids in the audience might not get it.
That's fair.
So it turns out Tetra used sprayed on tan, and when she turned it back into Zelda, it cleaned it off.
There you go. So this is a video going to be about how strong is Link in Tears of the Kingdom and Legend of Zelda power scaling. And none of us like power scaling. Because so
muddies
many
the water.
characters are supposed to be faster than light or faster than sound or whatever, but they're not because everything around them dies.
Mm-hmm.
And people just have trouble understanding that because
Sonic booms are a thing, and they will.
Yes.
The concussive force of a sonic boom going that fast would just shatter the universe
Yeah, and
if the object
It's
had any
just-
actual mass.
it's a large topic. We probably won't get through all of it, but we might get into some of it. So, let's start this shit show.
I'm not going to be the first person or the last person to say this, but the Legend of Zelda franchise is big. Spanning more than 30 years, dozens of
Shocking.
games, remakes of those games,
Laughs in Godzilla. Mere 30 years.
as well
Meow.
as manga, guidebooks, and art books. To completely experience everything that the series has to offer is an absolutely daunting task. On top of the scale and variety,
Is it, though?
Not if you're interested in it, you'll do it.
I like Sierra's song.
I also don't understand why I put daunting task up there in red.
Because it's letting you know how serious this is. Alright, it's very daunting. You know, playing some games,
Therefore, it's
it's
daunting
basically
task.
Vietnam.
the lore of the franchise is being debated and contended by fans of the series to this very day. Even a brief search on YouTube shows how many people have their own opinions of what they believe is the real timeline of the series.
They can have whatever their thoughts are. Then at the end of the day, Nintendo's the arbitrator.
That guy's got no neck.
That guy doesn't have a neck, but that's probably a meme picture. The Zelda timeline's a clusterfuck, but it's not really that hard to figure out.
It also doesn't exist.
It also doesn't exist because
Not real.
Nintendo doesn't honestly give a shit. But they
Nintendo trolled.
they didn't give the answer to what it is. Whether they care about the answer or not, they did tell you it's not hard to figure out.
With so many different reincarnations of Link, Zelda, and whatever evil being they're battling across the hundreds of thousands of years of the actual
The timeline I don't think is hundreds of thousands of years. Even close to it. Ignoring Tears of the Kingdom,
Which ignores itself.
which ignores everything. The timeline can be like maybe at most, if you're being generous, 15,000 years.
scope of The Legend of Zelda, it's really only surpassed in scale by a handful of franchises. Why am I mentioning this? Well, simply put, to say how strong Link is not an easy question.
I hate the fucking red letters that he's doing.
It's urgent.
I don't know. Here,
Why doesn't he just like do all of the words he says instead of just some of them?
because you have to emphasize the points that matter.
Urgent.
It's not an easy question.
It is, though. For instance, can Link carry a house?
He can, kinda.
You can with magical aid,
Yeah.
He can with his gloves of power.
but only the
You
last
don't-
ones he gets.
You just don't really have the option to pick up a house.
Yeah, so. There we go.
Also, hearts work differently in game to game.
No.
Not a lot, but somewhat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lonk's Takes. With Tears of the Kingdom having just been released, I think it's
Did he pronounce kingdom wrong?
I don't know. His name is Lonks.
I was gonna say I only heard Lonk.
Are you at 52?
Yes.
I am.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lonk's Takes. With Tears of the Kingdom having just
He did. He said kingdom.
Kingdom. Sounded like he gave up halfway through. Them.
Here's the Kingdom.
I mean, it is a dumb game, but
been released, I think it's a perfect time to talk about the general scaling of the Legend of Zelda franchise, and more importantly,
Speaking of Tears of the Kingdom, when do you guys think we're gonna get our Breath of the Wild sequel?
man, it's not any day now.
I know, right?
So I'm just gonna throw out my hot take because I'm sure you guys have already talked about it, but I haven't had it on this channel. That game sucked.
It wasn't good.
Bad even.
its
It
main
should have been called
character-
Adventures of Glue Gun.
Glue gun simulator.
As there are many versions of Link, as well as pretty much every other character in the series, I will be discussing the important aspects of scaling for the franchise as a whole, before discussing how they can possibly connect back to the Link that we play as in both Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom. Firstly, I want to
What?
address a common
That just
Don't
sounded
do
like
that.
nothing to
That
me.
was a word salad. What the fuck did he say?
the important aspects of scaling for the franchise as a whole,
The important aspects for scaling the franchise as a whole. Got it.
before discussing how they can possibly connect back to the Link that we play as in both Breath of the Wild and now Tears of the Kingdom.
So he's
They're
going
not
to
the
discuss
same
the
Link.
whole franchise to discuss
how
how
they connect.
strong the current Link is, but not the current Link, because the Tears of the Kingdom Link is a separate Link from Breath of the Wild. Though this video was written and edited before that Tears of the Kingdom came out, so I'll forgive him for not knowing that.
Right?
Firstly, I want to address a common misconception.
Don't do that.
Like a lot of video games, and especially Nintendo games, the
it.
consistency of the game scaling doesn't always come off as very reasonable. One moment the villains are threatening to destroy the entire world, and the next moment the character is taking damage from chickens. While this may feel like a cop-out explanation, this is just a basic structure of game design.
This guy has already proven himself slightly more intelligent than most of the power level community.
Mhm.
So kudos to you, Mr. Lonk.
I mean, you could be a legendary hero and a chicken could still peck you.
Yeah,
I mean, might not kill you, but that bitch would probably still hurt.
yeah, I know, but most of these power scaling twats have this. We need to take every feat in the game as a thing. So because Yamcha can beat Omega Shenron in Budokai Tenkaichi 3, therefore Yamcha is stronger than Omega Shenron.
It's also a comedy aspect. Chickens can beat you.
Yeah. So, like I said, congratulations to you, Lonk. You've figured out something most of your community hasn't.
Pretty much every role-playing or adventure game is guilty of this at some point. Take another franchise, Pokemon for example. Even the weakest level 1 Pokemon can technically damage and even defeat Arceus, who is the essential god of the Pokemon franchise. There is an evident and obvious separation between the scaling within the lore and the situations created by necessary game mechanics.
Why didn't he
Why
put
did-
necessary? He put game mechanics, but not necessary, but he pronounced all three
Yeah.
words the same.
See what I mean about the word thing? You shouldn't do it. Just say what you have to say. Fuse people with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just to keep the attention span of the current ADD riddled Zoomer audience.
But it
This
doesn't.
video is
They've already minimized it. They're
We care
fucking
less about
watching
how
porn.
technically big the explosions of Link's
Gotta
bodies
enjoy
are,
them
like on
feet.
Game Theory or something, and more so.
Like, I
about
probably
the
would have given up
actual
watching this if we weren't doing this for a video.
yeah, I wouldn't have gotten this
mean-
far.
None of us, I don't think, would have clicked on it if it wasn't, mostly because it's a power scaling video.
Like, even if I was just curious, I probably would have given up on it by now.
what these characters' capabilities are. To begin scaling the power of the Zelda franchise, we're going to start in a potentially unexpected place, Majora's Mask.
That is unexpected.
Not Ocarina.
No, because this is the part that caught me, that made me have to share my pain.
This is my favorite Legend of Zelda game, by the way.
It's because it's really fucking good.
It is really good.
Side with Ocarina in this. Because of the same Link, and I like the continuing story of him.
I really like the mask mechanic. I thought it was cool. But we'll find out what Dingus has to say.
There is a massive array of different alternate dimensions, worlds, or realms that Link goes through that are outside of Hyrule.
Oh, he's using the DS one.
For shame. Shame.
But you hear that? He's going to talk about how all the alternate dimensions and realms and all that shit, how this all interconnects with Hyrule. Alright, because this clearly has to be a very complicated explanation.
Include, but are not limited to, Lorule, Dark World, the Twilight Realm, Holodrum, Labrynna, Koholint, and the world of the Ocean King. We'll talk about the implications of these in a moment, but for now, we are concerned about the land that Link visits in Majora's Mask, Termina.
Alright, we're going to be talking about Termina. You ready?
Okay.
Every single one of these realms are described using very similar and interchangeable terms like parallel worlds, lands, or realms. However, Termina is given a slightly different terminology compared to its alternative counterparts. As described in both the original Japanese of Hyrule Historia as well as the direct guide materials relating to the game, Termina is an alternate universe. This tells us two things. One, that Termina itself is a universe, and two, that Hyrule is a universe, which is necessary for Termina to be an alternate of.
Alright, you got
Wow. You put that together so fast.
Is there a point?
that? It's about to get really stupid.
Oh no.
But yes, congratulations. The series in which the games take place in is in a universe.
Big
This
wow.
is an alternate universe.
Much like.
Ooh.
Hyrule being a universe, and not just a reference to the kingdom itself, is supported by the origin story given in Ocarina of Time, which implies that literally nothing existed before Hyrule besides formless chaos.
Remember
And in
Majora's
its
Mask?
Don't worry, he's going to come back to it and you're going to shake your head.
entirety is considered what would become the land of Hyrule, rather than just
The
like, a portion of it.
Powerpuff Girls.
Knowing this, the
So what I think he's going to be doing is he assumes the entirety of the planet is Hyrule instead of just the kingdom, and that is their creation myth, and they just refer to the creation of the world as Hyrule.
I don't think he realizes that the area he's standing in right now is not Hyrule. Like right now, right where he's standing.
Now he's in Econo
Oh,
Canyon.
never mind. He's in
We're about
Termina.
to see the stupid 3DS version of this
For
fight.
some odd reason, I thought he was playing the updated version of Ocarina of Time when he's in Gerudo
Where
Desert.
Link gets
which
big
is not
old
Hyrule.
dumb fist.
Yeah, so
The Gerudo area is not Hyrule.
But yes, I think he's going to be confusing the kingdom as an it encompasses the entire planet instead of,
I think he thinks the planet is Hyrule.
or the universe itself instead of just
Yeah,
the kingdom on whatever rock.
probably.
That's right, Tivers.
Injustice.
rather than just like a portion of it. Knowing this, the main villain of Majora's Mask, the Skull Kid, is described to have warped the
Also, the
Main
main villain isn't the
huh?
Skull Kid, it's Majora's Mask.
Right?
Some people.
entire world and turned it into Termina, the universe that Link falls into at the beginning of the game. As mentioned in that same guide, the entire universe is being similarly tainted by the actions of the Skull Kid. However, this wouldn't be enough for Link to get a personal universal level scaling himself.
He's always
That's not
already
good.
trying to give universal scaling to shit.
This guy's not good with words.
None of these power scaling types are.
Tainted by the actions of the Skull Kid. However, this wouldn't be enough for Link to get a personal universal level scaling himself. However, two major things imply that he does actually scale to this.
I hate this stupid giant fist in the DS one.
Uh-huh.
Don't worry, he's about to explain why Link is actually universal scaling.
We were like, what if we took our game and made all the boss fights shit? There's only 5 of them.
What if we took our game and made the entire thing shit and like de-leveled both the Zoran and the Deku?
Oh yeah, they nerfed
They were
them.
too powerful.
In a
What?
single player game.
Single player
Yeah.
game. We don't want it to be unfair.
You could speedrun it if you play a Deku.
Okay, let them speedrun it.
Yeah, doesn't matter, man.
They've already bought your game.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, and most obviously, he's able to beat Majora
Obviously.
in the game by himself, even without the Master Sword. Secondly, the same guidebook says that after Skull Kid is defeated, it is Link's own heart keeping the entire world in existence, and that him leaving it causes it to instantly disappear.
So, that's not in my Hyrule Historia. I don't know if that was in a new book after that, because I just checked my Hyrule Historia. He quoted another book as a source. But the trope of keeping, things together, of, just the power of your heart or whatever, does not mean your heart is stronger than the universe.
Mm.
I still have no idea what he's trying to say.
He's trying to talk about how Majora is corrupting the entirety of existence itself, but Link can beat him, so therefore Link is stronger than the entirety of existence itself.
Like, if this was true anyway, and somehow Link both, like, materialized this universe and dematerialized it, that almost gives credence to it's not a dimension, it's a dream.
Yeah.
And when he wakes up, it is gone.
Well, that's also...
Not a dimension.
Because Japanese is a strange language,
Yeah.
a lot of words mean the same thing. For instance, in Japanese, magma and lava are just the same word.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they have a bunch of shit like that throughout their language. A lot of languages do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, English has how many versions of there?
Yeah.
Or like sword, like soaring, or I have a sword,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Two versions of which.
what I think happened is that when they were translating the book, and they were using 1-to-1 Japanese, I wouldn't be surprised if the Japanese text did say universe, right? But they didn't mean scientific universe. They probably meant the world, the realm, shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
This area. And it's just something most people just, I think, fail to pick up on. Because languages are difficult, and translating them is more so.
This means that Link was passively keeping a universe in existence with essentially just his feelings. So, is
The power of heart, I kept all of reality from falling apart.
Still hasn't really actually said anything.
this
No.
an outlier? Maybe this version of Link is just really unique version of the character, but when we're being pragmatic, this just isn't the case. Firstly, this is the same Link that appears in both Ocarina of Time as well as Twilight Princess, in his arguably weakest form.
So, I don't know why he says that like that, why this Link is his weakest form. This Link has probably the most
Yeah.
feats out of most of the Links.
Mm-hmm.
I know why he says it, because
He's
it's
retarded.
just, because he believes in the timeline, stupid bullshit, which does not exist. Nintendo just made some shit up that doesn't matter. It's not in any of the games.
Nintendo got tired of people crying about wanting a timeline, so they
Yeah,
just
so they
pulled something out of their ass.
Yeah, so they
Yeah.
shit something out, and then they ignored it.
Yeah, because they don't follow it in Tears of the
Immediately.
Kingdom. They don't really follow it in Breath of the Wild either. But
No,
like
not really.
this Undead Knight guy right here, he could just be any hero from the past.
Which I think he is.
People just connect him to Link and say he's Link. I've never thought he's Link, because Link never wears fucking plate mail, especially plate mail without waist coverings.
I'm willing to bet it could be Link, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo just said sure afterwards.
Exactly. Like I said, they got tired of people crying.
I don't think it is.
It's just as likely it is Link to me as it isn't Link.
They realized they can make merchandise and they can profit off of making a timeline, so they did.
Well, Hyrule Historia, the big first lore book they made, right?
Uh-huh.
It mentions nothing about Majora's or Termina disappearing after Link leaves. But
Right.
later they just retconned it because they just don't give a shit.
Right.
No, the out of game lore, they don't care. It's
They
whatever.
don't. It was never supposed to link together in the first place.
No, these games are all independent of one
For,
another.
for him having the name Link, the
For the
games
most
don't
part.
actually link, unless they are direct sequels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the headcanon of Hero Shade is the Ocarina of Time link, but again, Nintendo doesn't care.
I don't think it is. I don't really care if it is or isn't, because he doesn't
Yeah.
really do anything like Ocarina of Time Link anyway.
He knows a bunch of abilities that Ocarina of Time Link never learned, even when he was an adult.
Yeah. He doesn't just kill everything with a big Goron sword.
Let alone his adult form, which is just naturally should be stronger. Furthermore, I mentioned earlier about the existence of all those other realms that exist outside of Hyrule. Despite not being called universes themselves, they're almost directly stated to be the same size as Hyrule itself.
You know. And obviously, because this guy doesn't understand what words mean, that means they're all the size of the universe.
Referring
Yeah.
once again to the Zelda Encyclopedia, most of these realms are literally the inverse, shadow, or opposite of Hyrule, and thus by all means should be equivalent of its universe.
Even though right there it says the Kingdom of Hyrule.
Where's the actual power scaling?
It's coming up. And be nonsense.
Universal size. In several of these games, like Twilight Princess and Link to the Past, Ganon is capable of doing almost identical feats to Skullkid, warping the entire Sacred Realm after using the Triforce and fusing together Hyrule and the Twilight Realm even without the Triforce in
You sound like he struggled with that sentence.
Because he doesn't word good.
his possession. Of course, just like Majora's Mask, Link is capable of defeating both versions of this Ganon. While there are other instances of being creating universes, they don't necessarily scale to Link. The Windfish creates an entire universe in his dreams.
It's not a universe, it's literally an island.
Uh-huh. It's a demi-plane.
Yeah, so it just lands credence to my belief that he just is misunderstanding words.
I don't think he understands that a universe is separate from a dimension, which is separate from, like, regular land.
Well, even where at the bottom there it says he once again slipped into a parallel universe, right?
Uh-huh.
But how big is a universe really? Like I said, because there's probably problems with translating.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only part of the Koholint Island is the island where the Windfish sleeps. So
if you try to leave that, that's all it is. It's just an island.
yeah.
Nothing there otherwise.
The universe that the Zelda Wikipedia still considers a separate realm from Hyrule. The feat is still very ambiguous, but acts more of a supporting piece of evidence for characters within the Zelda franchise being able to create or affect universal-sized spaces in their entirety. Even if you don't accept these spaces as literal universes, many of these realms have at least celestial bodies within themselves outside of the actual land, with stars and a cycle of day and night.
Again, that could be for all intents and purposes a skybox.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum, if you don't want to accept the previous statements of them being universes, they would still be multi-solar system-sized realms. Once again, Majora's Mask is the most blatant with this, as aliens literally invade during a side quest, implying that Termina is larger than just a single country and has other solar systems with their own races of people. So,
Suppose
how
so
can
they
we
are
connect
ghosts.
this all back to Link within Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild? If these Links are separate people and have separate feats, it's not exactly possible to connect them to each other, right? Except there actually is.
Yeah, it is impossible to connect them to one another.
No.
The shit doesn't translate from game to game.
No, they do. Just ignore all the evidence to the contrary.
Exactly.
Read
Ignore me.
like Hyrule isn't even shaped the same in game to game. You could be like, oh hey, it's been 1,000 years. Well, guess what? 1,000 years ago, Niagara Falls was still around.
What are you talking about?
Now, if you
Twilight
go back
Princess.
15,000 years ago, the Grand Canyon wasn't much.
Well, let's go with the obvious one. Twilight Princess to Ocarina of Time, which was only like supposed to be a couple hundred years apart. Look how different everything is on the map. Like everything's all over the place and changed around. Because again, Nintendo doesn't give a shit.
No, they're just
Maybe.
making a game.
There are essentially three things
And money.
that should be most consistent across these games. Ganon, the Triforce, and the Master Sword.
Not every game has a Triforce.
Why
Not
would
every game has
Zelda be in
Ganon.
this list?
Not every game has the Master Sword.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
that's already
fucking Ocarina or not Ocarina of Time. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think either of them have the Triforce in it.
Majora had none of those
Tears of the
things.
Kingdom doesn't have it at all. It appears in the back of Zelda's hand, I think, in one cutscene in Breath of the Wild. But that's
They
it.
don't really talk about it.
No, it's not
There's-
mentioned at all. Like I
I
said, I
said,
literally think it's
Majora's
just
Mask
animation
doesn't-
detail.
Majora's Mask doesn't have any of them.
Yeah.
Except it shows. I take that back. It shows the Triforce once when Link is learning the Song of Time
Yeah,
on the back of Zelda's hand.
I think it also shows the Master Sword when he puts it in the pedestal
It might have.
before he leaves.
Other than a cutscene that's not in it.
Yeah. Also, that's a Smash Bros. Ganon.
Yes.
Despite there being multiple timelines,
He's not in any of them.
every time we see these three things, for the most part, it's the same one across the whole series. Every time
He's about to make some wild leaps in logic.
Yeah.
Wait. I'm just gonna point out that Ganon is absolutely not the Wind Waker Ganon, which is absolutely not the Twilight Princess Ganon.
I mean, technically, not all Ganondorfs are the same Ganondorf because Aghanim exist.
Yeah.
That's not what he just said, though.
I know he's saying they're all the same Ganondorf, which they're kind of supposed to be referenced.
They're the same Ganondorf in the same way that the Links are the same Link.
Again, because these games aren't really connected.
Ganon
And that
is
Zeldas
sealed
are the
and
same
then comes
Zeldas.
back in some shape or form, unlike Link or Zelda, it's literally the same dude. Same goes for the Master Sword, or is being placed back in its pedestal for a future Link to find and wield in the future. For this last
Except for when it's not, because you don't use it in every game.
section, we're gonna have some minor spoilers for Tears of the Kingdom. This is a mix
Teals of the Kingdom.
I mean, there's his tunic is kind of teal.
of leaks and spoilers for the games that have come out, so what I say might be slightly wrong, but for the most part, I'm making, at worst, an educated guess. Cool?
Or you're not.
The mighty genius of power scaling.
Cool. So, obviously, in Tears of the Kingdom, the Master Sword gets broken. I don't think anyone would be surprised by that, as it's literally in the trailers and on the cover of the game itself. We can
Spoilers.
assume that this was done by Ganon and probably his malice. Over the course of the game, the Master Sword
Not called
gets
malice
reinforced
anymore, it's
and Ganon
called
is battled
gloom.
by the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important, as this means that even before reviving fully, this version of Ganon is more powerful than any version we've seen previously.
What?
The fuck it is.
Well,
That Ganon sucked. He had no chance of winning at the end.
Oh, he's
super
terrible.
fucking weak.
I beat him with a stick drift controller.
I think he's talking about from a lore perspective, but at the same, but even then, in a lore perspective, I don't think the Tears of the Kingdom Ganon is even as devastating as the fucking Breath of the Wild one. Because the Breath of the Wild one was dead. He was just basically a restless spirit.
Like his big thing he did is he stabbed some dude's wife in the back.
No, he punched her in the back.
I thought he had the doll stab.
No, he didn't. He just punches her in the spine, and it kills her.
Well, either way,
Because the game is shit.
he kills her, breaks the Master Sword, and sort of kills the king.
We get the best laugh ever.
Yeah, that laugh is pretty funny. But
Face.
But the Master Sword isn't any.
and then when he comes back, he just sits in a stump.
Also, the Master Sword is complete dog shit in the both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it can break, which it's never broken before.
Hey, it's the strongest it's ever been.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
How strong is it? Oh, it's weaker than the fucking DLC for the previous game. Oh, cool.
I mean, the game lets it be slightly strong against Ganondorf.
Even though Ganondorf was sealed below Hyrule Castle, he somehow came back in all the other incarnations as the same guy. Right? Like, how the fuck does that work in his own logic?
Mm-hmm.
Again,
how did he come out to be Ganondorf in Breath of the Wild or in Tears of the Kingdom? Or
his video came out
words.
before Tears of the Kingdom came out, I think. Or
Well,
at least he was writing it, but so he didn't know that.
Like, this is the same Ganondorf that was the Ganondorf in like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker. He somehow thinks this is all the same guy, even though he was sealed under a castle.
It's not like Smart guess.
Why the fuck didn't he just unseal himself when he woke the fuck up? And then he could have had Raru's arm and used glue.
Yeah.
Also, if he's the same person, then when did he get Matt Mercer's voice?
Why does he drastically change shape?
That too.
Why has he become a weeb?
Yeah.
Also, well, he's kind of a weeb in Wind Waker.
No, he dual wielded scimitars. He was fucking awesome in Wind
Oh,
Waker.
that's right. It was scimitars, not katanas.
Yeah, Wind Waker Ganondorf's fucking awesome. Fucking
Which I want to
Tears of
point
the
out.
Kingdom one is a spectacle, but it's also dog shit.
Which I want to point out makes more sense for his Middle
Arabian Nights
Eastern
ass.
type look
Yeah. No, it's a katana.
instead of a weeb Tana.
Yeah. But you can't even get, because you kill him and that's it. Maybe you can get it in some of the extra ship. I don't know.
You
No.
can get a crappy Gloom version of it. That's about it.
Yeah, but that doesn't come with the sweet sheath.
No.
This katana looks cool, and I think that Gandorf looks cool.
You just
But that
glue it
Gandorf
to
sucks.
You glue it to a stick.
Alright, but let's...
Because he's like, hey, fight all my heroes. And then you kill them all, then your heroes show up to help you fight.
This is very important, as this means that even before
I knew he was going to do this. He's just going to basically be like, oh, hey, the newest Link is the strongest Link, because this game is the newest one and the most popular, and that means that if I say this Link is the strongest, I'll have friends.
This Link is the strongest because the game is able to adapt to the new graphics and stuff to make him look strong, as opposed to the older games that had too much limitation.
No. You guys are calling it out like you can almost guess how this is gonna go or something.
Oh, yeah, no, of course he's going to say the newest Link is the strongest Link. That's how every power scaling thing goes. I don't even watch them.
More powerful than any version we've seen previously. All previous versions of both Ganon and Ganondorf were capable of being damaged by them.
I also want to
You
point out
probably-
in Breath of the Wild, you can break the Master Sword on Ganon. So,
I'm sure because Fifth Gear came out, you could find videos talking about how it's stronger than Ultra Instinct.
oh,
And then
probably.
when Goku learns Blueberry Snap form, like that'll be stronger than Fifth Gear. And then we'll get Ninth Gear because we don't even need the other gears in between. And then, I don't know,
Ichigo will come back.
Power scaling is
Violet
dumb. Just tell
Evergarden
your
will
story.
regrow her arms, and now she's the strongest.
I said power scaling is dumb. Just tell your story.
The Master Sword, a weapon more powerful than anything young Link and Majora's Mask had access to, besides arguably the Fierce Deity's Mask.
Arguably.
Right?
You have access to the Fierce Deity's Mask in this game. Gives you strength up.
It does.
Mhm.
But
If you
I
level
want
up
to point
access.
out, in the lore, which is what he's trying to use for his argument, the Fierce Deity is vastly stronger than Majora, which, by his own logic, was a universal manipulating existential threat to all of everything ever.
Make him vastly stronger to Ganondorf.
Which would make that vastly stronger than Ganondorf, so it's not, except maybe, arguably, the Fierce Deity. It is, the Fierce Deity is stronger than the Master Sword, by his logic.
I think you're literally invincible when you put on the Fierce Deity Mask.
I don't remember.
Not in the game, but you definitely.
I know there's
a lot
there's
stronger.
a glitch you can use to put it on and run around the town as Fierce Deity, but since you're so tall, like when you go through doors, Link's shrinks through the floor
Yeah,
up to his knees because he's so tall.
you're taller than the mailman.
You are taller than the mailman.
Big boy.
He was already pretty tall.
Because you have to do the puzzle. So anybody who wants to know how to put the Fierce Deity mask on really in the 64 version, I'm about to drop the deets for you.
Spoiler.
You do the Keyfake quest, and then when you get to the temple at the end, what you do is when you're playing Keyfake, you put the mask on the hotbar, and then when you switch to Link will just automatically put it on if you put it on in the right spot, and then bam, you're the Fierce Deity for the remainder of the day. Although you can't do anything because
Well,
you
here's the
can't use
thing.
anything as the Fierce Deity.
So here's the thing. You could actually glitch that further and get into that area sooner by rolling through the wall.
Yeah,
Because if you hit the wall,
you still can't really do
right
anything
angle-
though, because
No, I mean there's nothing to do. It's just you're cool. You're Fierce Deities. That's it.
yeah. I think you have to bomb
there-
yourself through the wall to get through it earlier.
No, you have to roll through it a certain way.
Is it roll through it?
It's roll through the corner at a certain angle. The other way to do it and I've only seen this done once, is you go out to Termina Field, you go over to the Zora area before you get into the Zora area. They have that little lake out there, and you're able to put the Zora mask on, and you're supposed to swim around in that and flip up in the air, and at some point you're able to put the Fierce Deities mask on. I forget how that one works.
Mhm.
I know it has to do with.
Although for the scene
Zora
we're looking
mask.
at in the video, which is what we're supposed to be talking about,
It's all Zelda related.
like
I'm at
I, would,
8:15, so
I can't help but notice that he didn't show fucking navigating the menus and gluing all that shit together.
it wasn't the promotional material or shit for Tears of the Kingdom because they knew it was a terrible thing. So
Talk
they
about
hit
how
it.
annoying it is
Tears
to
of the
line everything up.
tears of the menus because you navigate so many.
I just hate having to line everything up when you're trying to actually glue this stuff.
Especially when it doesn't want to cooperate.
It's frustrating. And then you're off slightly and it screws your entire build-up.
I'm at 8:10. We're all at 8:10.
Yep.
Young
Yep.
Link and Majora's Mask had access to, besides arguably the Fierce Deities mask. At least to me, using any fraction of his power to break the Master Sword implies that Ganon is stronger than ever before in the game. For Link to reforge the weapon and then have it be able to harm Ganon implies that the Master Sword itself is now stronger than it's ever been.
Not.
How does that line of logic follow?
Wait, why does that
Link
imply the
also
Master
had-
Sword
Yeah,
is stronger than it's ever
I need to
been?
re-listen to that.
Link also didn't reforge it.
I need to re-listen.
Sword implies that Ganon is stronger than ever before in the game.
Gotta go back
For
further.
Link to reforge the weapon and then have it be able to harm Ganon implies that the Master Sword itself
Okay, so he's saying because you're gonna have to use it in the final boss, that means it has to be stronger than it's ever been. Because even though Ganon broke it earlier, obviously you're gonna have to use it to fight him. So therefore, it's even stronger than Ganon, who was Infinity +2, but now the Master Sword is Infinity +3 because that's every fucking one of these videos.
He's using logic that folds in on itself.
I mean, first off, Link didn't reforge it. Zelda stabbed herself in the forehead after she turned into a dragon.
Yeah, it's the most divine thing she could think of herself.
I wonder, did she stab it into her head before she turned into a dragon? Because I think she would have had to, because the dragon didn't have long enough arms to do that.
No, it just kind of.
That they say the dragon's mindless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just picture herself just fucking impaling herself in the head.
It doesn't
Before
make
she
it like a
transforms.
sense. She explodes into a ball of light and then a dragon pops out with a sword in its head.
Anyway, his initial comment was something along the lines of Ganondorf is the strongest he's ever been because he was able to destroy the Master Sword, but now the Master Sword can be stronger than him because it was reforged, so it has to be stronger than him now. And it's like, you've just given me an aneurysm with your stupidity. And he folded his own argument into itself.
I mean, yeah, it's a weird argument, and I don't really understand what the fuck he's talking about at all.
I mean,
Basically,
his logic
jumping
can
to
be.
conclusion and then jumping back to the other side of the conclusion.
I mean, if you want to use some real world logic here, a bullet can break itself on a sword. A sword is vastly weaker, than a bullet, material wise. But like this bullet will just fucking shatter because it's so strong.
Bullets can be split. The bullet is harder than water. The surface tension of water will shatter the bullet.
Yeah.
So figure that one out.
So it's just like, just because something breaks on something else does not mean it is necessarily weaker than that thing.
Also, how is the first thing stronger because the second thing is weaker? And then you're able to flip it around and now say that because this thing is weaker and it was able to destroy the stronger guy, it is now stronger and makes the guy wielding it stronger.
It doesn't even make sense anyway, because Ganondorf reforges himself in the fight, so he can use his katana
In the hot tub of gas.
Yeah.
and the gas tub.
Gave me Mario Sunshine vibes with Bowser. Chilling out in a
Yeah, kinda.
magma hot tub.
I could see the comparison at least.
is now stronger than it's ever been.
The words popped up so you know it's serious.
Stronger than it's ever been.
Ever.
Why'd you capitalize it's?
It was probably pretty strong in Ocarina of Time. It was able to turn back darkness.
I don't think it should be capitalized.
It probably shouldn't.
I don't think than should be either. Though.
In the past, the Master Sword has been reforged, and it's stated it literally makes Link more powerful as the sword grows stronger. So
Yes,
there is
in a
actually
different
very
game.
consistent within the franchise.
Yes,
that the Master
tools make
Sword
somebody
improves
stronger.
over time. This is also made even more impressive if Ganon has any new forms or boosts he demonstrates in the game beyond his basic Ganondorf form. Since Twilight Princess, it's really been implied more that the most powerful form of Ganon is this state.
I don't know how we got to that
So
conclusion.
jump to conclusions again.
The Ganondorf is stronger than Ganon, which is Ganondorf with the Triforce of Power. Or sometimes the entire fucking thing.
Because you already beat him as a pig in this one by this point.
Yeah.
In this one, you fight him as a pig first.
Yeah, you fight him as a
Then
pig.
you chase him on horse, and then you fight him here.
Yeah, and this is, you know, this couldn't clearly just be some weird warrior code he's dicking around with.
Now, if he
Or the
said
fact
you
that
could
he
beat
got his
this
ass beat in
Ganondorf-
his pig form, so he's gonna say, fuck it, I'll fight you one-on-one, bro.
Now, if he said you could beat this Ganondorf with a fishing pole, I'd be like, oh, well. I'd understand it a little bit better.
In game, you can, but that's not lore-wise.
No, but it'd be much funnier if it was.
Like, stabbing him... I mean, this one's got a gaping chest wound as well.
Yeah, I wish he didn't have that.
I mean, it makes sense that he does, but...
Given how he's the last form you fight, rather than just basic Ganon.
Yeah, so his logic for that is Ganondorf was the final boss in Twilight Princess, so therefore Ganondorf is stronger than Ganon, even though Ganon is usually the final boss.
Right.
It's classic newer is better.
I really wish instead of a stupid dragon, Ganondorf would have turned into Ganon at the end of Tears.
Then you would have just light arrowed him again.
He didn't have light arrows.
You didn't have him up to that point either.
Man, Breath of the Wild, you don't got lighters until that fight.
But he didn't have Zelda's help at this point either.
Well, that's true, but they would have just been stupid.
He could have just like stood on her head and shot him with arrows, and then she could have shot him with laser
To be
blasted
fair, that
blade.
might have been fun.
Chasing him around on Zelda, and you got to shoot him with arrows, and she shoots him with lasers.
That might have been more fun than what we got.
Make it like the
Actually,
Wyvern.
that does sound better, yeah.
Yeah, like the Wyvern fight from Sonic Frontiers.
Right.
Could have been fucking tits.
Kind of.
This means that in Tears of the Kingdom, Link is likely fighting the most powerful version of Ganon, one that has already done multiple universal feats in the past, and
He got banished to
It's
Twilight Realm.
he's so universally powerful. He got his ass beat by 7 ghosts.
Picture this. Link, while fighting on Zelda's back using light arrows, the arrows are actually her hair, so you're plucking strands of her hair out to use as the light arrow. And by the time she reverts back to Zelda, she's bald.
There you go.
Welcome, Internet.
scales above other Universal characters. Honestly, I think this makes sense. It's the first game.
Of course you think it makes sense. You're a fucking nitwit.
If the first game was about
It's
Link
your video.
reaching his previous past strength, and then
Man, imagine if you would have
with
actually
massive
put some
feat
work into this and didn't just make a 10-minute video so you can get that 8-minute money.
Right?
in the past and scales above other Universal characters.
So universally,
I guess
he still gets beat by the golden goddesses.
I really feel like we should try this shit sometimes. Be like, oh, hey, yeah, turns out that Majin Buu is really strong, but Goku Black is even stronger, but nowhere near as strong as Jiren. Oh my goodness.
Oh, well, what about gas?
And
Yeah,
because what's his face is a god of destruction, Vegeta becomes a god of destruction superior. And we could spend 4 minutes making a video, then
Remember that time
Put
where...
8 minutes
oh, no,
of
I'm not
giant-
thinking about Dragon Ball. No.
and then we could put stupid giant words on the screen so we know we're serious.
Honestly, I think this makes sense. It's the first game.
I'm sure you do.
If
This is
the
your
first
video.
game was about Link reaching
If it didn't make sense,
Exactly.
you wouldn't have said it.
Exactly.
Even though it doesn't make sense, and you're a liar.
If he thought it didn't make sense, he wouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
his
Also,
past-
you've got like 50 seconds left, and you haven't said jack diddly shit.
Hey man, he said that we should take
was
the
fun.
Hyrule Historia, the not Hyrule Historia, the books that came out afterwards, which contradict the Hyrule Historia. We should take those books seriously. That universes, realms, dreams, and all that shit are all actually the size of the multiverse.
Which has something to do with Link having the heart that keeps him in balance.
and Ganondorf is stronger. The Master Sword is stronger than Ganondorf, but Ganondorf is stronger than the Master Sword. But because Link reforged it, the Master Sword is now even stronger, +2.
And that makes Ganondorf even stronger because he broke it in the first place.
Yes. It makes perfect sense. Don't
So
think about it.
how actually strong is Link? Don't think about it. What the...
Well, you've talked about why the Master Sword is stronger, I suppose.
Yeah, you could argue
roundabout
that,
way.
but not.
You're wrong because that's stupid. If anything, the Master Sword's gotten weaker because it got shattered and then
And it
needed to
can
spend
still turn
15,000 years on a dragon's forehead.
I want to point out no other game does it turn off other than the Breath of the Wild and the
Tears of the Kingdom.
fake sequel.
Yeah, where they're like, oh hey, look it, you can fuse it with a rock and now it's your hammer.
Dude, it's so cool. You have no idea.
Or you fuse it with a spear so it just has a lot of range because that's the
Yeah.
only actual smart thing to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Strength and then coordinating with the past to defeat Ganon. And this game seems to be about Link developing even further past that level. So
It's not the same Link, you fucking idiot. Even
Fucking
pretending that
Link?
Breath of the Wild Link and Tears of the Kingdom Link are the same Link, which they're not, but pretending they are, those are not the same Links from the previous games.
That's
So,
the real question. Can Link
They're
beat
sure
a
it should
silverback
not-
gorilla?
They're sure as shit not this Link because the fucking Twilight Princess Link is cool.
Twilight Princess Link would beat the fuck out of the Breath of the Wild Link. Motherfucker can actually swing his sword and knows how to fight and roll around and shit.
I was gonna
Um,
say,
Tears of the Kingdom Link would be like, I'll
Roll
glue a pony to it.
I'll glue some things.
they're like, I'll just shoot you with an ancient arrow.
Be fair, the fucking Twilight Princess Link would probably parry it
I mean, that's possible too.
or turn into a wolf.
Parry it and fling it back into him.
Like,
while
you want to talk
in-
about why that Link's the most powerful? He's the only one that gets a one-shot arrow, which might have worked on Ganondorf, honestly.
Also, finishing blow.
Nah.
Finishing
Only
blow
Twilight
move
Princess
is
Link
great.
is allowed to have finishing blow.
That's what I was saying.
the game itself, Link's feats aren't super impressive compared to previous Links. Lore-wise, this might actually be the most powerful version of the Hero of Courage we've...
You say that, but you haven't given any evidence for that.
Yeah, you talk about why his sword's stronger.
You've talked about why the Master Sword is strong. You've talked about why
Because
other
they're
Links are
broke.
strong. But these are not the same Links.
He hasn't actually scaled anything. Like, what
Yeah,
is he
yeah.
comparing it to other
Yeah,
than...
he hasn't been like, oh, hey, well, you see, Fi is in the Master Sword, and then Zelda channeled her divinity into Fi so Fi could rebuild the Master Sword, and because of this, it's like 1,000 years of upgrading or some shit. Like, that's more thought than he put into it, at least, and I made that up in a rant.
ever seen, and thus wields universe-destroying power. Not bad for a dude who can get beat.
Hear that?
That's,
Link
fucking
is universal. Why? Because the Master Sword is stronger than Ganondorf.
Because it can beat the physical body of a guy who can bend certain aspects of the universe that he is in.
He can
Very
curse
small
areas to
aspects.
make them weird.
First off,
Yeah.
Ganondorf doesn't fucking change the universe, really. when he's
Also,
in
it's
the game.
magic.
Yeah, he curses areas to make them weird. The temples.
I want
That's
to
about
point
it.
out, we're going back to Dragon Ball Z for a second. Babidi is magical. He has the ability to warp the minds of people. He can put people in pocket dimensions, just like Ganondorf can. But can easily be split in half because his physical body is not up to snuff with his magical power. So if somebody were to kill him physically, that would not make them stronger than his magic.
Yeah.
And no, like, the stupid.
Boo's the
First
one
guy
that
they
killed him,
fight.
so it's not fair. A fair comparison, but still.
Well, I mean, technically, even that first guy they fight, the guy who's like, "Hey, Vegeta, the gravity here is 10
Mhm.
times that of Earth." That guy could have killed Babidi.
Pui Pui.
Yeah, Pui Pui.
Was it Pui Pui?
Pui Pui.
Yeah. Pui
Uh,
Pui could probably kill most characters and other things, to be honest, but
Pui Pui and Yakan.
yeah. But, like,
I remember the Yakam. I didn't remember the other guy's name was Pui Pui. He could have killed Babidi though if he just shot him.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with these power scaling numbskulls is they don't understand, different facets of a fight or different facets of character. They try to number crunch, but they do it really poorly.
Like, he didn't number crunch at all.
Yeah, you got guys like this who just don't number crunch at all and just kind of vaguely assume
Well,
shit.
I'm right.
And they go,
'cause I
I'm
say
right.
I am.
Look at this. Link's universal. Why is that? Because his sword is strong. Oh, does the sword actually do anything universal? No. But it can beat the guy who is universal. Oh, what does he actually do that's universal? Just, he affects realms sometimes.
Like, the defining feature, like, the defining, how would I say it? The thing I would like to see this guy do is try to debate this with somebody. All his shit would fall apart in an instant if he had somebody that knew what they were talking about. Like,
Yeah.
debating with him. Every piece he said.
Now I'm curious about the next video.
Beaten by some cuckoos.
You'll
Made
have
it
to
this
wait
far.
and see.
Thank you so much for watching. Even though I mostly make Dragon Ball videos, I am a huge fan of Legend of Zelda. Literally, the name
Why
of
is
this
much
channel is
capitalized
based off of Link's name.
and
So,
watching?
this video was a lot of research, but really fun to make.
A lot of
Anyways,
research.
I'm sorry, a lot of
You-
research.
You half-assed a wiki page.
You talked about dimension. You talked about confusing dimensions with universes.
And you didn't really talk about why
you
Link is
floundered
stronger.
trying to talk about how Link is stronger. You didn't actually have any substance or evidence
You
other
didn't
than
actually talk about Link being
Master
stronger anyway.
Sword
You
is
said the Master
stronger.
Sword was.
Yeah.
which this game. I don't even think this game, Tears of the Kingdom, was fully out yet
No, it
when
wasn't.
he made this video. So he was basing it off of his idea
What
of
he thought the game would
Master
be.
Sword was going to be, which we end up finding out it's technically weaker than it's ever been, because it was already faulty in Breath of the Wild, and finally broke, and now it is stronger than it was ever
Well, it has nothing
has
to do with the
been,
fact it was weaker in Breath of the Wild.
as it was broken. So yes, now it is stronger than it was while it was broken. This is true. I would not say it's stronger than it's ever been, because it can still break. Stronger would show that it
Not
wasn't
even
going to break.
Yeah, because using his logic, all right, because the Master Sword is gonna be able to beat Ganon, right? The Master Sword can break on a fucking
Yes.
bokoblin in a tree.
Yeah.
So, like, does that mean the trees are multiversal threats?
The regular bokoblins, not even the
Yeah.
higher level ones.
Like a red bokoblin, the Master Sword can break on a red bokoblin.
Mhm.
So does that mean a red
Yeah.
bokoblin is a universal threat?
I think he is. I think he's stronger than Ganondorf.
To be fair, I had more trouble with hordes of bokoblins than I did Ganondorf, but
To be fair, I mean, that's kind of the debate that he's given. Like, I was able to debate him saying that a bokoblin is stronger than Ganondorf because the Master Sword, which can beat Ganondorf, can snap on a bokoblin. Boom. I win. I won the internet, guys.
10 out of 10.
Thank you.
This video is stupid.
Amy.
You're welcome.
And now a
Disagree
word
with my
from
takes, Let
Barbosa.
me know how I'm wrong in the comments down below. See ya.
All right, now a word from Barbosa.
I'm here to negotiate.
You speak when spoken to.
And you'll not lay a hand on those under the protection of Parley.
Aye, sir.
Apologies, miss.